NainaMD, Beverly Hills, Fusion of Science and Beauty. And every week I bring to you the best of anti-aging and regenerative medicine. It's my mission to really have the audience and everyone realize how much evidence-based there is in anti-aging and regenerative medicine. One of the topics I want to start with today, and a fabulous guest to discuss that topic, is acne. We know that acne is afflicting so many Americans, so many teens, and normally acne is treated by going to a dermatologist, and we get, a lot of topicals. We may get oral antibiotics, and we may even get laser treatments, and it's always kind of like on the outside, what are we doing? We also know that a diet does affect acne, and so we try to a little bit get into that. But to really explain it, I want to introduce my next guest, and that is Dr. Nick Delgado. He is a PhD in health sciences. He's been lecturing. He's been written so many books. I can't remember the titles. We go back such a long ways, and I really want to introduce you to him because he is going to offer a very, very different viewpoint on how acne is treated. So welcome to my show, Nick. I know that the traditional methods of acne have been discussed and people are familiar with, but nobody really knows about the insight, as we in anti-aging regenerative know about hormonal imbalances can affect, and so many other things that you're going to talk about today.
Yeah, in writing my book,
yeah.
Annihilate Acne Now, I interviewed over 250 different medical doctors who are specialists in anti-aging and wellness. And we agree that there's certain key elements. When you look in the medical literature, if you know where to search, which is what I've done in the book to help you to locate that information and to make complex information simple, it really gets down to three factors. One is what's called mTOR, mammalian targeted on rapamycin. It's an enzyme that forces abnormal growth in the skin. And we've discovered exactly which amino acids in what foods trigger this problem and which ones calm it down. Furthermore, we've discovered what supplements actually target this enzyme and calms it down. It's really important to reduce this enzyme to clear up the skin.
Does this enzyme have to do with also the formation of acne?
Oh yes, in a big way. We've also found that this particular enzyme is highly correlated with the incidence of breast cancer, prostate cancer, and Alzheimer's.
Wow.
So,
does it breed inflammation?
Yes. Well, it's interesting that
in terms of the skin, what does it exactly do?
Well, when they discovered metformin, which is the #1 selling drug for diabetes in our next segment, it was found that that medicine tends to deal with the TOR enzyme. It tends to calm it down. Right. So we wanted to understand the mechanism. What was it exactly that was causing this enzyme to elevate? And then we discovered another correlation. It was so strongly correlated. It was sex hormone binding globulin related to the transport of estrogens and androgens. And that related to a massive area of xenoestrogens, estrogens in the foods and certain meats. And it turned out the same foods that tend to increase the TOR enzyme elevated these harmful forms of estrogens that suppress the sex hormone binding globulin. So the solution was bring that sex hormone binding globulin back up, which is what birth control pills do, but why would you do that if you can do it in a more elegant, safe way? So we created some supplements that work.
Sometimes if you increase growth, sex hormone binding globulin too high, it will bind right to the testosterone and other things too. So you don't want it to go
not too high.
You have to find it in the right, what we call the physiological, the nice physiological range, right?
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
And what we're finding out that people really are imbalanced in too high. Or they're too low.
Right.
And so that's interesting because both of those things, when it's too high, to an imbalance of the sex hormone binding globulin, can sometimes bring that that acne about.
Right.
You in your book, Annihilate Acne Naturally, I think it's so important to really again stress the hormonal imbalance issue, which can be caused by a variety of things. And as you were just mentioning, you're talking about the TOR enzyme, the mTOR enzyme. You're talking about the sex hormone binding globulin, which in its results is going to cause imbalances in estrogen, progesterone, all the xenoestrogens. So liver cleanses are really important. I noticed you have a product called Live Detox, right? This is the Live Detox product, and that's really nice in helping metabolize estrogens and clear a lot of the toxins, right? Toxin
Absolutely,
exposure.
it helps them to move through their proper pathways and exit the body, which is what you want.
This product I know for years we've had, and I've used it so much. It's your Estro Block, and it's pretty cool in terms of the helping optimize the estrogen metabolism. So in other words, there's good and bad estrogens.
Right.
And good and bad estrogens, by the way, New England Journal of Medicine has talked about it since 1992. Their article in Right in New England Journal of Medicine, you know, our Bible of our conventional medicine journals. And yet we still never paid attention to the different types of estrogens.
Right.
Have a lot to do with acne and their imbalances. So I really like, and I know I've used that product. This DHT block is another product because we know that, for example, and a lot of the current acne, and you see a lot of the commercials and all these you know, infomercials and so forth, is because a buildup dihydrotestosterone, which is DHT, can cause acne. That imbalance of how you metabolize testosterone. And one of the things here too is that we also know DHT, by the way, is associated with increased risk of heart disease, increased levels. So I know you've got some amazing products in relationship treating acne. One is the liver detox, and this is so important because helping to detoxify a lot of the toxins, especially the xenoestrogens, is so important. This is a fabulous product, and I've used this in my practice. You've got this Estro Block, and this one, Nick, I've had for I think 15 years, right? Yes. I know you've improved on it, but it's still a basic is amazing. Right. I've used it to optimize estrogen metabolism. We know that there's good and bad estrogens. And we even in conventional medicine, in New England Journal of Medicine, which is our Bible journal in conventional medicine, has talked about it since 1992 on good and bad estrogens and how they're metabolized. It is very, very important in acne, how your estrogens are metabolized. You have another product. It's called the DHT block, which I really like. I know it's a newer product, but I've gone into issues where people are making infomercials and people are talking about how dihydrotestosterone, you know, sometimes can be associated with acne, hair loss, and also prostate issues. Yeah. Another interesting thing is also associated with an increased risk of heart disease, which people don't realize. So balancing the dihydrotestosterone is so important, and we really haven't had, you know, a way to do that. And there's some basic nutrients you can really do. And you know, I understand a lot of people think this is like pills and, you know, more pills to take. But unfortunately, we are living in a time where we try to do the best we can in our foods, but sometimes we don't get the nutritional value or what we need from the diet. So we sometimes have to supplement. I think the audience would love to hear from you because you are beyond phenomenal on diet, nutrition, and always and knowing the biochemistry, because you and I think alike. And I know over the years I've respected you because I've always like picked up the phone, and whenever like there was an amazing biochemical fact, I was like, Nick, you know, and we love talking about it. But tell me about diet and acne. The audience would love to hear from your perspective. It's a different perspective. Most people don't talk about it the way you do.
Well, it began with when I was doing medical literature searches to write my book, Annihilate Acne. I found out that there were certain foods that tended to naturally increase sex hormone binding globulin, not too high, but to the right level, and it would attach to these abnormal androgen or DHT or excess estrogen metabolites and help them to bind and then exit out the body. Now, what I discovered further was that there were certain polyphenols in the Estro Block, DHT block, and that was important for calming down the insulin, because insulin is involved with PCOS, and that can affect acne.
Right.
And then I discovered that the foods that were rich in leucine, the amino acid, if it was low in leucine, it calmed down or that reduced the mTOR enzyme. Well, that was one of the keys. So we started finding that the very same foods that are low in estrogen metabolites and low in androgens and calm down the androgens, that is all fruits, all vegetables, all beans and peas, legumes, and soaked nuts and seeds, would help to reduce both the estrogen problems and the androgen problems, but also reduce this TOR enzyme. And we found the very same foods that increased the TOR enzyme that aggravated acne would also be the very same foods that aggravated the hormonal imbalance. And that would be all red meat, pork, chicken, and dairy product, all the dairy products, very high in leucine. When you look up the categories, and then you find out that leucine in the biochemistry indirectly forces the increase of the mTOR enzyme, which indirectly increases the other hormones, and that all causes a cascade that causes inflammation in the skin. Okay. So I created these 3 products to target each of those problems and elegantly start on the process. Within 11 days, people are reporting to us their skin's improving. Within sometimes the tougher cases, 3 to 6 months. Wow. And then they get the word that, hey, maybe I should be following a better diet too. Yeah. So they start following a better lifestyle diet and exercise and cleansing with the liver cleanse. And it all comes together. Their skin becomes almost pristine. I know, I mean, I used to dance on American Bandstand when I was a teenager. Yeah. And my skin would break out and I was horrified. I was like, oh. And I realized that, you know, I'm going to be on national television with pimples on my face. With zits on your face, yeah. It was horrible. So once I figured out, thinking back to my teen years, that this was not a small problem. This is something that causes suicidal tendencies in teens. I mean, it causes them to avoid going outdoors, to being with their friends. It's not a minor problem. And there's underlying issues, as you know.
Even adult acne is just as bad. I mean, my woman who can't even control cysts, and it's devastating. They want their face back. I see so many patients that, you know, clients that are just horrified with adult acne.
And many of the same things that affect this particular enzyme and the particular hormones would directly or indirectly increase the risk of breast cancer, prostate cancer, and Alzheimer's, and longevity. So we're in the business of extending life, and if we can just teach people through diet and supplements to get these hormones into the right balance, get the enzyme into the right balance, that we believe, and that's well purported in all the medical literature, to identify a solution that doesn't have to be pharmaceutical. It can be nutraceutical. It could be the elegant ways that we've talked about for more than 20 years.
Yeah. Welcome to the field of nutrigenomics. Again, that's having nutrients that really target certain enzymes or reactions that can change the way you express. In this case, we've got certain nutrients that can really change the way that you can, you know, affect metabolism of certain, which are going to affect your hormone metabolism, and that's huge.
And I wanted to bring up, you as a medical doctor, and I know there's bloggers out there that think they know a lot, the Einsteins of the world, and it's interesting that they had no clue that estrogen dominance could directly or indirectly influence the levels of androgens, because they're all interconnected.
We've known that for 10 years.
Yeah, but people out there, because it's not in the popular press, they don't realize that if you target estrogen dominance and the mTOR enzyme, and then elegantly help to calm down the DHT and the androgens, then the body balances out. But if you don't deal with the original cause, then you can't really correct the underlying problem.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Listen, where do people find you? What is your website?
Just go to delgadoprotocol.com. If they have trouble spelling that, Nick Delgado, DELGADO.com.
Okay.
And there's Facebook links and Twitter and Instagram. We have all these great pictures of before afters of acne and clearing up the skin with all these young people and older people. You know, 20% of adults have acne too. 90% of people will experience acne and be troubled with it during their lifetime. So we really have to get a solution. And there are cultures in the South Pacific where they don't even have skin blemishes. They don't have cysts. They don't have nodules, none of this.
Beautiful.
And their diet happens to match our Simply Healthy protocol that I wrote about in my book, Annihilate Acne Now Naturally. So it all came together. The medical literature matched the worldwide literature, the epidemiology, and it tied into gene therapy and how it triggers certain genes in our body. It all tied into longevity. And it's so beautiful when you get that after 40 years of research to figure out how does it all interrelate and what's the solution and does it work? And it does work.
Yeah. And you, by the way, have been a vegetarian and you've won heavy championships, right? So
weightlifting championships, and
which we're, by the way, that goes on another show because time's running out. We had such an interesting and amazing time discussing acne. Listen, this has been, thank you so much for coming on my show.
Thank you,
and we'll be right back with my next guest. This is NainaMD, Fusion of Science and Beauty, right here in Beverly Hills.